Tapping into the true potential of the human spirit. This is Humanity Empowered. This is the Implicit Show. Hello. What is up, Implicit people? My name is Brent Dubé. I'm hosting the show today, and I gotta tell you, I got a confession to make, guys. I think I suck. You know, I made a mistake on our first try getting this show up and running, but you know what? I think we're good to go now. I think we're rolling. If you guys are in here, I'd love to get your comments, love to let you guys know we're here. But anyways, we got a special episode. We got a special guest, and his name is Dan Murphy. And Dan Murphy, he's part of something called the No BS Writers Club, and you could go check that out at nobswritersclub.com. We're going to talk about, you know, the process of learning and growing, which, I mean, we're going to talk about it in the sense of writing today because, I mean, I'm a writer, Dan's a writer. I know we have a lot of writers who listen to the show, so you're going to get value from that. But also, this could apply. This is universal. You know, you could apply this to growing on a musical instrument or in a sport or in any area of your life, really. So I'm excited about it. Dan, I'm going to let you introduce yourself. Tell us a little bit about your journey and how you got to where you are today and how you've discovered that you wanted to be a writer and you wanted to help others with that as well.
Oh, wow. Okay. Well, thanks very much for the intro. That's great. Well, my name's Dan Murphy, and I started the No BS Writers Club probably only a few months ago. And it was actually kind of a journey where through entrepreneurship and publishing, and then I kind of decided I wanted to write as well. So I had a Kindle publishing business or a publishing house for several years ago. And I did a lot of like ghostwriting and written work and hiring authors and writers and things like that. So I loved seeing that process. I loved seeing how it went down. I loved managing it. So eventually that business kind of took a turn for the worse, and I can explain that later. But then I was like, well, what could I do if I had absolutely nothing? You know, if I was starting from ground zero, there was nothing going on, I needed some money or I needed to do something, I could learn how to write. And I always admired the writers that I worked with and everything else. So I was, all right, let me learn how to write. So I spent the last year or more of my life actually just focused on nothing but writing, like figuring out the writing process, figuring out how to go from, you know, the guy that doesn't know how to really put a work together to a guy that really.
Tapping into the true potential of the human spirit. This is Humanity Empowered. This is the Implicit Show. Yes, we did it. We are live today on the Implicit Show. My name is Brent Dubé. I'm your host, and I gotta tell you, I'm excited for this episode for many reasons. One of the reasons why is because this is our third time trying to get this thing up and running, and I'm pumped about it because we finally got it going. And today the topic is, you suck, but you'll get better. And this gives me hope, because right now I feel a little bit like I suck, but I have confidence that with our special guest today, I'm going to get the confidence I need to move forward and get better. But anyways, I want to introduce our guest today. His name is Dan Murphy, and he leads the No BS Writers Club. You could go check it out at nobswritersclub.com. And so basically helps writers write, this is going to be great for me. This is going to be great for you, because I know there's a lot of writers who listen to the show, but also I want to give you hope that this isn't just for writing. So if you're trying to get into any kind of skill, a musical instrument, you know, you want to build a better relationship, whatever it is, you can use these same kind of tactics and ideas and strategies to move forward in your life that way too. So Dan, I'm going to give you a chance now to actually tell your story. Tell us a little bit about, you know, how you got to where you are, and, you know, how you found your mission in writing and what you're doing today.
Sure, absolutely. So
hey,
I started.
Dan, for real this time.
Yeah, because this is our third time. I think it's like I've had a few rehearsals. I'm pretty good at this. So anyway, I'm Dan. I run the No BS Writers Club. And I started this journey probably several years back where I had a publishing business. So I did a lot of self-help, self-development, and self-improvement works. And I worked a lot with writers and cover designers and this, that, and the other thing. So it was like a little publishing house. And I made my entire income off of that at one point. And then at one point, everything kind of took a turn for the worse. So Amazon, you know, to make a long story short, had a glitch, and then it kind of wrecked my business. And I can always explain that later. But what ended up happening was like, I really liked the writers I worked with. I liked the writing process. And in a way, I was kind of like, man, I wish I could do this too. Like, these are talented people. Like, why can't I be a writer too? So for the last year of my life, I kind of dedicated to myself to just figuring out, how can I write? What can I do to write better? How can I learn this? Because really, when you write, you can be the center of a lot of things. Just like you lead this live stream, the podcast and everything else. Like, people look to you. People look to you for information. You can spread ideas. Like, being able to write, you can do exactly that. So I was trying to think, what can I do if I had bare minimum nothing, absolutely nothing? What would have the most, power and influence for me, which is writing. And then also, once I learned how to do it, teaching others to do the same.
Yeah, no, it's interesting how I got into writing, because I never thought it'd be something I do. I'd never see myself reading a book, let alone writing a book. And now, I've challenged myself this year to write a book, just a short ebook every single month this year. And man, it's not easy. It's not easy. I bet you kind of have experience with this a little bit. Do you?
Yeah, absolutely. It's especially because it's weird, because writing is easy, but it's not.
Yeah.
So you have a keyboard. Anyone can compose an email. Anyone can write something into Notepad. But because it's just like anything else. I can play the guitar, but I can be very bad at it. You can play the guitar and be very good at it. It's a matter of how good you really want to get. So that was my thing. Like, how can I take, I'm used to writing emails and business communications and stuff like that. How can I start getting really good, really clear at what I want to say and how to say it? So it's kind of like a process, and it is hard to invest the time to do that.
Mm-hmm. What do you think are some of the challenges or barriers that people run into most when trying to start something like this?
A lot of people, I feel, look for inspiration. Okay. Yeah. So they want to feel inspired. That's one thing I see a lot. Like, where do you get your inspiration? What's your muse? It's like, dude, I don't have one. It's really what it comes down to is, for me, it's all about productivity. Are you making the time? Are you setting aside the time to give yourself time and space to write? Are you doing it? Because, like, look, anytime, if I'm inspired, I'm in the shower. It's like the most inconvenient thing for me ever. I'm sitting there like, oh, I'm in the shower. This is not a good time to bring a laptop in here. So what can I do? So you kind of come up with little systems and things like that to avoid that. But other things people come up with are like little blocks. Like, well, why can't I write? Or normally it's just because of a difficulty thing. It's not because they don't know how to do it. It's just like, this is hard. Like, it went from fun to difficult. And now I want to go, oh, well, this sucks. Writing's not fun anymore. And that's another thing I see quite a bit of as well.
I could totally relate to that. Like, that's happened to me, a couple times in my music, like, where it's something I love, it's something I'm passionate about, it's something that drives me, fulfills me, and I feel like I'm doing it for a mission. But sometimes I'm just like, I don't know if I'm really into that right now. And
dude, it's like that for anything though. It's if it's a business, okay? If it's music, whatever it is, there's going to be that fun part. There's going to be that, this is easy. I'm really into this. This is great. And then it's going to be that difficult part where it's like, I don't know what to do next. Or you're composing something, you're like, this is great up to this point. I don't know where to go from here. So it's that. But I kind of look at this, and I literally just posted about this in a Facebook group somewhere. Someone called it the muck. You get stuck in the muck. I said, listen, the muck is good. It's your friend. You just don't realize it, because getting stuck in the muck, that kind of acts as a filter. So the people that want to become a good musician, the person that wants to become a good writer, will figure out ways to get through that muck, to get, it kind of keeps the wannabes out. And the pros, they'll stay in there, and they'll work their way through the muck.
Man, and there is muck in everything. Holy. I remember when we first started this company, it was like our expectations were so high. It was like, yeah, man, we're gonna press okay on the message, on the big announcement, and everything's just gonna explode overnight, right? And then, weeks go by, months go by, and it's not quite how you thought it would be. And now you're a little disappointed, and like, you're just not sure, do I continue with this? Like, is this something that I want to keep doing in the end of the day, or what? And I could totally see how, if you're not fully committed, if you don't see a purpose in what you're doing, it's so easy to hit that barrier and just quit. And I find it happens to so many people. I know a lot of the people I grew up with, like a lot of my friends, they all went to school. Right? I didn't go to school. I went and worked at a crappy job, but they all went to school and they all did something different. But at least, 80, 90% of them came home and with student debt saying this is not what I wanted to do. Like it
Right.
just wasn't what I was expected. And so like it's good that there's that muck, because otherwise, you go to doctor school and all of a sudden you're this amazing doctor, but like it's not something you really want to do, or maybe it's not even something you're amazing at, right?
Right. You could have a D or like a C student that was a doctor. Nobody's gonna know the difference. They still call him doctor.
Good point. Good point. Yeah. So where does this lead us in writing? Because a lot of people, I mean, some people suck and they know they suck, right? But there's a lot of people out there who suck and they don't know they suck. Where do you think we go from, sucking to at least improving and making progress?
You know what? It's about ego. I think a lot of it. Because the second you can go, you know what, maybe I don't know everything. Like I've worked with some writers and talked to some writers where you give them advice and they're like, well, that's my voice. Well, then you, my friend, are not going to be able to be helped. You know what I mean? Like even imagine somebody who's playing shitty stuff on a guitar and they were sitting there going like, oh, well, that's just my style. Well, your style sucks. It sounds terrible. Okay. You can say that all you want, but what it really comes down to is somebody sitting there going like, okay, pretend I don't know anything. Asking for advice and saying, where can I be better? And then being absolutely open to the advice that people give you. And sometimes it's going to hurt. Sometimes it's going to sting, but it's worth it. You just have to say, all right, I don't just put it all aside and go, listen, tell me where I really suck. And that's literally the only way you can get better. And then working at the craft and constantly having that feedback mechanism in there.
Mm-hmm. I'd love to hear, do you have any kind of stories where you've kind of realized, oh snap, like I suck, I really need to improve here? Like it could be like in your career or anywhere. I'd love to hear a story.
Oh my God. I probably have so many of these stories, so now it's like hard to come up with them. But it's like I know with the writing stuff, I didn't know exactly what I was doing at many points. So what I could do is just check in with people over time. So for instance, okay, so I knew I sucked at writing and I knew I needed some help. I didn't know exactly where to start. So I worked with a guy who was an editor and he knew a lot more than I did. So what I decided to do is like kind of say, look, dude, Peter, can you help me with this? And then he basically pointed out all my flaws. Like I have 18 pages of notes from things we went through. And that's just some of the notes of where I needed to improve and this, that, and the other thing. And I would revisit them and things like that. But yeah, like writing, I knew I sucked and I knew it wasn't clear. And I had some people point it out to me. And actually my girlfriend pointed out a few things, but for some reason I didn't listen to her. But then all of a sudden I asked someone else to do it. And I'm like, oh, they say the same thing. And she's like, yeah, no, I told you that. I was like, yeah, I guess it's just someone different telling me the same thing. But
yeah, so. It's so crazy how, sometimes we have no idea until we ask. Right. Like that was the thing that I noticed from your story. Like you said, you had to go ask this guy, man, like I need your advice. I need help here. And so many people, they're just afraid to ask. Right. And like you said, it's that ego thing that gets in the way. It's like, I can't deal with criticism because like, it might crush, my expectations of who I am or my identity or whatever. But man, when you like all my research tells me in the greatest athletes, the greatest successful people, whoever, they all have a coach or a mentor or somebody who they ask questions. They're like, hey, where am I? Because at the end of the day, like you only see through these eyes, right? You can't see from the outside of how you make other people feel or how you make other people react or how your writing is or how your arpeggios on the guitar are, right? And so like when you have somebody from the outside point of view saying like, okay, I see this and I see this over here and then you could improve here and here, it's like it's a game changer if you're open to that information. And if it's also if it's coming from the right source, like you said, like sometimes we don't listen to our loved ones, like mom's always got advice, right? But like, do you really listen to mom? A lot of the times just like, oh mom, you're cute, I love you mom, oh that's great. But if it's somebody you look up to, right, like a mentor of yours, you're like, oh, like whatever I could do to
yeah, the difference is mom's giving like advice I didn't want, and then like even though it's right, and then you pay somebody else for the same advice. You're like, dude, it's the same thing. It's just like, yeah, but for some reason I'm listening to this guy more, But you nail it when it comes to anything like that, coaching or getting support from others or mentorship via books or audio books or anything, blog posts or whatever. That stuff is so important. But if you can tap someone on the shoulder and say, look, man, can you help me out? That will accelerate everything. Because look, I mean, I don't think people say this. They probably should though. Is like even the best writers and the best author, you might think it's like a single person handling everything. It's not. They have other people handling all their stuff. It's like I might be a writer, but it's like I'm not going at this alone. Like I'm asking people for advice. I'm still finding out things every day. Now I get to take that information and pass it on to other people, which is really, really, really cool. But you need that. If you want to do anything I think crazy or worthwhile, you're going to need support. You're going to need help, and you're going to have to get, put your ego aside and ask people for help. It's you just have to do it if you want to do anything crazy.
Yeah, no, it's so true, man. And I realized that on my journey. When I first wanted to start a company, I wanted to start a record label because I was passionate about music. I wanted to help out the local bands in the area and everything. And so, I teamed up with a bunch of other musicians and a bunch of other people, and all of a sudden everybody just falls. Everybody's out, and it's just left me with the bag. And so my ego said, "Oh yeah, well, you guys don't want nothing to do with it. I'll do it myself, and I'll make it amazing, and I'll kick ass." And well, I didn't. And so I went for probably like about a year, 2 years of trying to make this thing work without any support, and it just wasn't happening. And finally, I set my ego aside. I teamed up with some people, and that's what we got going today. I mean, this isn't just me putting on the show. There's so much that goes into this with the other people in the team helping it work. Otherwise, this would not happen. It would not work that way. And that's a huge point that, like Dan said, that I think you guys could take, and is like, include other people on your vision, on your mission, on the book you're writing, or on the task you're trying to achieve, whatever it is, because they could help. Even just sometimes just knowing somebody else knows is like, oh man, somebody else knows that I'm going to do this. Like I need to do it now. Right.
Yeah, no, without a doubt. I mean, and the vast amount of resources, it's like we don't live in a little area where we can only talk to a few people. I can contact anyone, anywhere. And I've hired people from, I wanted to learn music production, and I think I hired a dude from Serbia. Like there's no freaking reason that you can't find somebody to get help from. I mean, there's Upwork, if clarity.fm, if you want to look for some big hitters that have already done what you want to do and can give you advice. Yeah, it might be costly. Like some of these people cost like $1,000 an hour, $500 an hour, something like that. But it's cheap when it really comes down to it, because if you needed a record label question answered and you're like, dude, I really need to know how to do X, Y, and Z, and you could shave a year off of your time by making one phone call for $500, that's kind of cheap. That's really freaking cheap. It's kind of like a no-brainer. So with all these resources, I mean, they have Facebook groups, they have people you can reach out to. And it's, don't always reach out to the people that are very, what I want to say, like very public or very, you know what I mean? Like there's people that have done it that are very, very private, that aren't in the limelight, so to speak, that you can ask them and access them a lot quicker than you could, let's say, I don't know, like a Tim Ferriss or something like that. There's no way you're getting a hold of that dude unless you know somebody who knows somebody or something like that. But if you know, the guy who did it like 2 years ago and he's not necessarily in the limelight, you might be able to, hit him up with a question or something like that. But pitch it in a way that it's valuable for them, not necessarily just, I need your help. Yeah. Also,
I need you.
Yeah. Like so do a bunch of other people. Like how can you help them first?
Yeah. No, and it's like you said, man, the abundance of resources. It's crazy. I mean, look what we're doing right now. Like this wasn't even really possible last year or 2 years ago, 3 years ago, 4 years ago. Like we're live on Facebook, YouTube, Periscope, all these platforms, reaching people from all around the world, sharing information. Like it's crazy, right? It's like, that's why on the show, I always love to break down the mentality of things, the psychology, because it's like, dude, we have it all, but like we let ourselves pass it up. And it's that thing that interests me. It's like the opportunity is there, but we just let it go. And so like, that's always what I try to get behind on the show when I'm talking to guests or anything. I always love that question. Anyways, we got a question from Mike Roberto, and he says, I'm getting better. Inner discipline and motivation is always my foe. I know I can write, but I think I'm really afraid to try. Have you ever run into that, like with anybody you've worked with, like people who want to write, but they're kind of afraid? There's like a fear to even try or even get into it at all?
Absolutely. I mean, I still have fears about everything, because like, I'll be very honest with you. Like, so I put this on my Facebook page. I'm there's a little bit of fear in me that worries about I'm going to be judged by my peers right now. There could be some of my Facebook friends watching me right now. And I worry about that. Like, what are they going to say? What are they going to do? But you know what? In reality, it doesn't matter. Because at the end of the day, if I didn't do that thing I wanted to do, like, I'm going to be disappointed with me. They're not going to know the difference. Why should I care? I need to do what's best for me. So in Mike's case, I mean, I have had all those doubts, and I still have doubts. But you know what? I feel like the more I do things, the more what I would do, back up first, sit there and really think about, what am I afraid of? Because really that's what those things come down to. It's about fear. What am I afraid of? Getting judged by my peers, putting out a shitty work, not knowing how to write, right? Like, really start listing down those fears and digging into them, because you'll find out, like, some of them, like these things that you think are going to be big monsters once you do them, aren't at all. Like, they're nothing. That you're painting a big picture of this fear thing that's never going to come true at all. Or if it does come true, you realize that it wasn't that bad at all.
Oh yeah, man. Like, one practice I've loved to do is journal about my fears. I mean, when I was younger, I was 15, I was always writing songs. And so a lot of my songwriting was about my fears and challenges and negative emotions and stuff. And it was my way to kind of get through it, because I realized when I put it on paper and then I put some, some cool music behind it, all of a sudden it's cool. All of a sudden, like, I'm down. It's like, whatever, that's fine. And so it's hilarious how we have these subconscious fears, but as soon as we bring them to the conscious mind and realize, wait, I'm only afraid of what this person's going to think. Like, do I really care? Or you ask yourself, I'm afraid of this. What do I have to believe to be afraid of this? And then once you get behind that, you're like, wait a minute, that's weird. Like, why would I even?
Like, you're picturing like some dude you went to high school with or something like that. Like, that guy's going to judge me. I haven't talked to that dude in 10 years. Why do I give a shit what he cares? So you just do it. And you know what? If he does say something, usually it's as easy as saying, unfriend you on Facebook. You're pretty much gone forever at that point. You're not going to knock on my door and say, dude, you unfriended me on Facebook. Like, it's not going to happen like that. So it's really just easy to kind of block out that noise. But you know what? Even if you do get some kind of negative flack or something like that, sometimes you can take it and analyze it. It could just be somebody trolling you. But sometimes it could be just, hey, that was great. You could do this a little better. And as long as you don't let your ego get in the way, it might be some valuable feedback.
Mm-hmm.
By the way, I like your thing about journaling, and I'll show you this. This is like the best way to get over fear. I do this every single morning, okay? And it's like I journal, and it really is just like, what's on your mind, figure out what's going on, and then dig in, and then a lot of times you'll find some little nuggets in there, like, what am I really fearing? Oh, that's a really stupid fear. Okay. And it's easy to say, but it's when you start digging, when you put out the effort, it's really worth it. It really, really is worth it.
Yeah, man. It's probably been like 3 years since I started journaling, and it's crazy how the way you journal evolves too, because when I first started, I was talking about this on the show yesterday. I first started journaling because I was like a drunken party guy, and I would always like get so drunk I couldn't remember what happened the next day. And so like I'd sit there and just really think hard. I was like, man, last night was awesome. Like, I need to remember some of this stuff. And so I write it down in a journal. And
last night was awesome. What did I do?
Yeah, dude, that was my life. And so I eventually I just started kind of journaling about what I'm grateful about, or what I want, my vision, stuff like that. And then it kind of evolved, and then you could journal about what's going on today and how I feel about it. There's so many directions you could go in, but either direction, whatever you journal about, either way, you're putting something out there, and it's helping you get stuff off your chest and helps you clear your mind. Like, there's so many, I can't even, like, there's so many.
Right, dude, right there. It's like you get that mental monkey chatter in your mind where it's like you're fearing something or you're worried about something. This takes it, and like you said, it parks it. It goes, all right, like if you start your day with something like this, it gives you just a few minutes or 12 minutes. That's usually what a page takes me, 10, 12 minutes. I've been doing this enough, I guess. I know.
Yeah.
And then like you do that and you're like, okay, now that's off. Now what do you got to work on? All right, well, I want to write. Cool. Well, I got that crap pulled out of here and put away. Now I can focus on what I really need to focus on and not worry about that nagging fear inside my head that's going, oh, you're not good enough for writing.
Yeah. That's it. Guys, if you're listening, because I know you're listening, take that, man, like journal about something that you're, even if it's a problem right now that you need to solve and you don't quite know how. Spend, 20% of your time, define the problem. What is this? What's the deal? How am I going to do it? And then spend 80% of that time trying to figure out a solution to it. Like, that's a problem solving thing. Hey, maybe you just want to journal about gratitude. Like, that's what I do sometimes. Like, I'm just like, man, look around. What can I be grateful for? Oh, I have a book over there. I like that book. I like that book. Like, it could be that simple. Like,
Dude, it's
really
like
cool.
I did the same thing the other day. I just journaled about like, okay, I'm in a great place. You know what I mean? Like, I could have been born anywhere in this world, and look where I am. I was born to great parents. I have a great fiance. I said girlfriend earlier. Now she's a fiance. That just happened this weekend. So there you go.
Boom.
So
Exclusive.
I bet she's listening right now, going fiance. And then, but
Oh, that kind of sounds nice.
Yeah, I like that. It sounds fancy. And it's like, that's the kind of stuff. It's like people take for granted. It's like, did you wake up in a bed this morning? You're in good shape, dude. First of all, you woke up. Second of all, you have a bed. Okay. Mm-hmm. Did you put your feet on the ground? Good. It's like you can go through your day and just sit there and go, I'm pretty grateful for every single thing I had. Did you go to work today? Good. Even if you didn't, are you alive? Cool. Yeah, like,
yeah, man.
It's just really the basics.
It resets you, because like that's what happens is you grow up, you live your life, and every single day you wake up with the same attitude. Or sometimes you have good wake ups, sometimes you have bad wake ups, but generally we're habitual creatures, so we get caught in habits. We wake up and we do the same thing. But if you wake up and you journal instead, it's like a reset. All of a sudden you get to decide, okay, which path am I going to take? And so like it's like opening up the fork to like all the roads. I'm just all full of analogies today.
Hey, that works.
It works. It works. It's good.
With that.
So moving forward, man, I want to know a little bit about kind of what you see for the future of what you're doing with writing, with helping people and stuff like that. I love to know about what our guests are getting into or what they aspire to do with their lives. It inspires me and it inspires people on the show. So
that's awesome. Well, all right. So basically, I want to take what I'm learning and have learned, and then be able to incorporate it into No BS Writers Club. That's one of the pieces. And then, so I want to be able to help as many people as I can write. And it's hard to do a one-on-one because like right now it's a smaller group, but I know like, look at your group, it's growing very, very quickly. How do you do that at scale? So then I need to figure out exactly how that's got to be done. But for now, I do every week. And this is one of the challenges that people have. Every week I offer what are called writing power hours. So I just moved them to Wednesday nights, and we literally sit there and write for an hour. It sounds like the weirdest thing in the world. So you just log in, I use Zoom, and people log in, and we have like a pre-writing chat for a few minutes. And then people just sit down and work on whatever they're writing for an hour. And like you have a screen, like last night, there was a screen with a bunch of people on there, all sitting there working on their own projects. And what it brings is like accountability and an hour of focus that people aren't giving themselves at any other time. You know what I mean? Like people sit there and go, oh, I'll write tomorrow. I'll write in the morning. I'll write this. Like this is scheduled. Like you show up and you get your shit done. And I even had a message coming from someone this morning that was like, after I left there, I still worked on something for like another this morning. And after we left, I was like, that's awesome. It's because you're giving people that momentum. So that's one thing that I do. That's just like hey, show up and get your right on, I guess. Another thing I want to do is I like talking to people individually. So I've been talking to people individually in the group, finding out what are their challenges? Like, where do they really need support at? So that's another thing I've been doing. And what I really want to start doing is because the group is still young, I'm going to start organizing masterminds between similar group members or ones that we can help each other out. So we can go from like a power hour to something a little more individualized where you can really ping pong ideas back and forth in a more intimate setting. And I'd love to work one-on-one with a few people as well, just to really, really accelerate and take all the habits and all the stuff I've been learning and give it to them as well. But I also want to be able to share those things with the group too. So that's like on my list of many things to do.
Yeah. No, that's really cool. Like I love how you're starting with one person at a time. You get personal. You learn what their struggles are and how you could help them through that, and then you take that to scale, right? So that you don't have to be one-on-one with them, and you could help multiple people at the same time, and you could expand the group and stuff like that. That's kind of the same philosophy we started with here. We just really want to, hey, start off small. If we could affect one life, man, if we could help one person write a better book, or one person achieve their goals, and one person put a smile on their face, right? That creates a ripple effect. And so eventually, once you learn how to create those ripple effects, you could do it all at scale. And then you have this whole scale, and then all those ripples like rippling each other and shit. Like,
I love it. No, it's like the same thing with writing. It's like you write one piece and you affect one person. That's awesome. Like,
yeah.
you did your job.
And then you're also affecting all the people who read what that person wrote, right? And then all the people who have read what that person wrote might go off and write their own things, or might go and share the idea.
Right.
And it's everywhere, right? Like, how did we learn to talk? How did we learn to do what we're doing? How'd you learn to write, right? Somebody pumped you up about it. Somebody, passed it on to you, and you learned about it. And so I love that.
No, it's fascinating. And especially now, I mean, there's so many outlets for writing. And I think people don't really, and I didn't really think about this literally to the other day. Like, years ago, I went to a library, and it was only who was published that you got to read. You know what I mean? Because we didn't have internet. We didn't have any of those things. Like, so I could only get the opinions of, a certain number of people. Here, it's no longer that. You don't have that anymore. You can sit there and take an opinion from you who I've never heard about my entire life, let's say. And it's like, I can combine that with this. And it's all these little things. Like, it's amazing the amount of information we can get from a bunch of different people now. Whereas before, we were kind of limited to whatever was in the library or whatever was available, via newspaper and big machines. They used to print. They used to print things. They still do. I do.
Yeah, I mean, it's just coming back to how amazing and abundant the opportunity is, right? And just, if we could help people capitalize on that, help people realize and take advantage of, what's there for them, what's been given. Yeah, it's amazing, man. It's amazing.
You made me think of something earlier. It's like, I was just thinking about my phone, right? So you have your phone, which has so many things. Like, you can either treat it like it's a Facebook machine, and that's all you're going to do. Or you can sit there and download an abundance of things. You can watch awesome YouTube videos and learn about science and math and this, that, and the other thing. You can sign up for a course on, was it Udemy or whatever it is? But it's like for like dirt cheap. And you can learn all kinds of stuff. I mean, there's Khan Academy or whatever that is. It's like, there's so many different things. There's just no excuse to not be learning something on any given time. And most people are just like, hey, I'm just going to fart around and play freaking Angry Birds. That's fine if you want to do that. And I whatever, it's your phone. You can do what you want. But it's like, you have that in your hands. And it is so powerful. But people don't always realize how much power it has.
Yeah. And then they complain like, oh, I don't have time to get anything done. I can't make anything happen. It's like, if you're gonna complain, man, like, I'll give it to you. Like, let's go. You could write a book on your phone. Like, I've written the book I'm working on right now. Sometimes when I'm laying in bed and I'm just like, man, I haven't written anything today. I gotta write something. So I just pick up my phone. I go in there. I write 100 words, 200, 300 words, and then it's like, I'm satisfied. It's okay. I got something done. I got somewhere today. And
you're better than me. I dictate because I'm lazy. See, even better. You don't even have to type. You just talk to it, and it's like, Siri will handle this for me. Thank you.
Yeah, that's awesome. Siri, I need you to record everything I'm gonna say right now. Soon, pretty soon, Siri will be writing our books, Dan.
You know what? It will. There will be a time where the books just write themselves, and then we just got to level ourselves up, and figure out what.
That'll be the day. Anyways, man, I gotta thank you. We're coming to the 30-minute mark, and I gotta say, like, thanks for hopping on the show. I appreciate your energy. I appreciate, you really want to help other people write, and I think that's really cool. It's something I could use some help with, so we might keep in touch. Just saying.
That's perfect.
And yeah, it's always cool to have different guests on the show and to get inspired by them and what they're doing with their lives. And I love, that you're on a mission, you're making it happen, and you got a fiance now, man. High five.
Doing good. Just leveling everything up,
Yeah, man. So where could people go? I mean, I know they could go to the nobswritersclub.com. Am I right? That's where they go to see what you're up to. And it leads to a group, right?
That just goes right to a Facebook group. But if you want to learn more about me, you can go to danmurphy.me, which is just where I put a few of my writings, and I'm publishing more. I have a queue of them. I just got to actually upload them. And then, that's pretty much, I have a newsletter if you care to sign up for that. But, if you're interested in your writing, No BS Writers Club is where it's at, man.
Awesome. So guys, you guys got to thank Dan for hopping onto the show, for providing all this value. Make sure you go check out his website and stuff like that. And if you're interested in writing or getting into it, this is the guy who could help you make it happen. And if you guys want to support what we're doing with Implicit, you go to patreon.com/implicit, where you get all sorts of cool stuff there. There's like books and videos and coaching and all the stuff that you want, that you need. It's all there for you. So thanks for your support. We love you guys. Dan, let's see the peace sign, man. Let's see the peace sign. Peace, guys.
Later, guys.